At the turn of the 60s, Germany recovers its sovereignty. It has made peace with France and set out on the way to Europe.
Die Tatsache, dass Charles de Gaulle hier ist und von Ihnen so herzlich empfangen wird, beweist, wie unsere beiden Völker schon einander vertrauen.
The Cold War leads to Germany's rearmament. The ex-officers of the Third Reich have formed the new army and won't be blamed for their past. Obviously very isolated, Wiesenthal has no other task to attend to other than his stamp collection. Yet, an amazing piece of luck will revive his endeavor. A collector friend shows him a rare stamp from South America on an envelope with an address that puts him on Eichmann's track. He is in Argentina. The net of former deportees now locates him in Buenos Aires. But he will not transmit the news to the Germans. They might do nothing. The address is sent to the Mossad, Israel's secret services. Israel wants Eichmann alive. The Mossad sets up an operation. The head of the Mossad himself, Serge Klarsfeld, leads a commando that will abduct Eichmann on May 11th, 1960. The secret agents cart him off and serve him to comfort him, a kosher meal. That same day, May 11th, 1960, is also a great day for Beate, who is in Paris as an au pair girl. That day, she meets Serge Klarsfeld, a student at the political sciences school. He is Jewish. His father let himself be deported to save his family. He died at Auschwitz.
Donc c'était quand même pour moi, je dirais, une Allemande non juive qui rencontre un juif dont le père a été tué à Auschwitz par les Allemands pendant que mon père servait dans l'armée allemande. Ça a quand même déjà mis des relations un petit peu spéciales entre nous deux. Il y avait à l'époque parmi les amis de mon futur mari un genre de méfiance envers les Allemands. Et puis je me suis dit quand même, je ne suis pas coupable parce que je suis née en 1939, mais c'est mes parents qui ont été responsables pour leur... mais pas moi. Et puis j'ai essayé peu à peu, avec l'aide de Serge, qui entre autres était historienne, qui m'a donc... remis les documents, les livres nécessaires à lire et pour vraiment comprendre finalement ce qui était arrivé en Allemagne entre 1933 et 1945.
The Eichmann trial will contribute to Beate's awareness. It will be the first great televised trial, a Jewish Nuremberg. But the simile goes further. Eichmann's defense attorney is Mr. Robert Servatius, one of the lawyers at Nuremberg. The SS Adolf Eichmann, in the hands of his worst enemies. Eichmann, in his glass box of the special court in Jerusalem. The Eichmann trial will last 6 months and arouse the entire world's acute interest, and that is its actual aim, to awaken an international awareness.
Legen Sie die rechte Hand auf die Heilige Schrift.
Ich schwöre nicht auf die Bibel, ich schwöre bei Gott.
The charges of indictment are crimes against the Jewish people, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. Eichmann sputters an answer. He attacks the president of the Zionist World Organization back in '39.
Ich sah während des Krieges, nach der Kriegserklärung von, nach der Erklärung des Zionistenführers Dr. Chaim Weizmann, sah ich die Juden als Feinde Deutschlands. Aber
Ich will kein Aber, ich will eine Antwort, das genügt mir.
Eichmann is out of his depth. the audience is disappointed. He is not the monster reckoned on, nor the arrogant SS, boasting of having had more and more Jews killed. In fact, it's his line of defense. He claims he was merely a small cog in an infernal machinery. Oh no, says the prosecutor. He personally made much worse the most criminal measures. Eichmann will be sentenced to death on June 1st, 1962. Israel will furnish neither films nor photos of an execution which closed a trial that was a very important step in the hunting down of Nazi criminals.
Since the Eichmann affair, no one of the prominent Nazis in South America sleeps longer than 4 weeks in the same bed. This is also a part of the sentence.
This will also concern Mengele, now permanently on the run. Mengele, the Auschwitz physician, who practiced selection on the deportees arriving at the camp. He chose those who would die at once and those who would live for a time. In May 1960, the Mossad almost succeeded in getting him on the same plane as Eichmann, but Mengele managed to escape to Paraguay, then to Brazil. He is now the most wanted man in the world. He survives because his family is wealthy and powerful, and because local South American governments have reasons to protect him. Wiesenthal persists in his tracking down of Nazis, particularly those from his native Austria. One of them is the police officer who in 1944 arrested Anne Frank in Amsterdam. Karl Silberbauer, sentenced to a mere 15 months in jail for having belonged to the Gestapo. During a wedding party, Anne Frank is here watching normal people who have the chance, at the time, of not being Jewish. This is the only existing film where she appears. She will then hide in her attic, where she will write, for 2 years, a masterpiece published after the war, The Diary of Anne Frank. Denounced, she is arrested with her family and deported. Anne Frank died at Bergen-Belsen in March 1945 when she was 16 because she was Jewish. She has become the symbolic figure of persecution. Every year, Amsterdam freezes to attention in remembrance of her. Beate marries Serge, who is now a lawyer. She writes an au pair guide and works for the Franco-German Youth Office. But she also keeps scouring Germany's recent past with Serge.
Serge a fait tout pour me faire comprendre ce qui s'est passé en Allemagne. Et puis donc, je dis, j'étais certainement ouverte aussi. Ça n'aurait pas été la même chose si j'étais restée en Allemagne, et certainement. C'était très bon pour les Allemands de connaître notre pays, surtout le pays Europe, comme la France occupée, et aussi sentir les réactions des gens envers les Allemands.
Ludwigsburg's research center in South Germany will represent the first official effort to safeguard what has been saved from destruction during the final weeks of war. Thus, trials such as the trial of Auschwitz guards, having previously avoided punishment, can be resumed. They will be heavily sentenced. This will be one of the greatest post-war trials in Germany. It will open the eyes of a generation who now feels guilty as this prosecutor or this lady onlooker do.
Have you formed any conclusions in your mind as to how it happened?
Well, this leads to, in a way, philosophical ideas, but I think there is a certain inhumanity within the German people, and this might be the reason for what had happened.
Somehow I feel we all are responsible, every one of us, because it has happened in Germany and we all are Germans and we somehow have to carry what had happened in history.
Albert Speer, Hitler's architect, Hitler's friend, Hitler's minister, drives out of jail like a star. Speer can hardly believe it. He has aged so and feels so worn after 20 years in jail. The Allies have kept refusing any reduction in his sentence, as they have done too for Hess, sentenced to life. But obviously some Germans are still happy to see Speer again.
I can tell you that I'm quite glad to be outside here. Dankeschön. Danke Ihnen auch.
This is the generation of those who disown nothing and regret the whole past. To them, Speer embodies all of the great triumphs of the Third Reich. But Speer truly was a Nazi criminal. As the Minister of Armament, he made war and suffering an endless ordeal and brought death too. Speer has become a true living museum of Nazism. He publishes his memoirs. They become a world bestseller. He also becomes a guest star on every TV talk show. In fact, he will die 15 years later in London, just before a broadcast. He talks unflaggingly justifying himself.
Une des grandes fautes de ma vie, peut-être la plus grande faute, je savais que les Juifs étaient dans des camps de concentration, mais je pensais qu'ils travaillaient dans les camps de concentration. Mais je ne savais pas qu'ils sont, comme on disait, exterminés.
Et si vous aviez su, vraiment, si vous aviez vu, par exemple à Auschwitz, qu'est-ce que vous auriez pu faire?
Je n'aurais pu faire aucune chose que dire à Hitler que je ne veux plus être son ministre et peut-être ça aurait été le résultat.
Est-ce qu'aujourd'hui vous avez finalement compris pourquoi et comment vous avez pu faire pour obéir à Hitler?
J'étais très ambitieux, que je voulais aussi avoir part de des pouvoirs de Hitler et que avoir du pouvoir est une chose délicieuse.
In the end, Speer almost becomes likable. Nazism becomes a subject for historical research, a research unrelated to its monstrosity. It helps the rehabilitation of Nazis, who now become judges or even assembly representatives. One of them even attains the highest position, Chancellor of the German Federal Republic. He is Kurt Kiesinger, former member of the Nazi Party and senior official of Hitler's regime. This situation worries the Klarsfelds, who think of their kid's future, Arno. They are shocked to see Kiesinger received with all honors in France. The higher realms of politics consider this man cleared by the German courts of denazification. One generation wants to be forgotten, while the next one wants to know. Germany's youth takes action against Vietnam and against Kiesinger, whom the Klarsfelds denounce as one of the men in charge of Hitler's radio propaganda.
Donc avec tout ce que j'ai su sur le nazisme, je me suis dit, une Allemande qui vit à Paris et qui veut agir ne peut pas laisser faire.
Beate first writes press articles about the Chancellor's Nazi past. She is fired from the Franco-German Youth Office in Paris. But more is required, a spectacular deed. Beate goes to Berlin with a photographer to the Congress of the Chancellor's Christian Democrat Party. She steps behind the platform and vigorously slaps Kiesinger. The guards don't dare shoot to avoid wounding other people. They grasp and drag Beate away. Kiesinger's hurt eye is taken care of. Beate is jailed, judged, and sentenced to 1 year without remission. But Serge Klarsfeld is an excellent lawyer. Beate, French by marriage, is answerable to Berlin's French occupation authorities. An agreement is soon settled, and she is sent back to France while waiting for an appeal. Beate, strengthened by this success, joins Germany's election campaign of September '69. She runs against Kiesinger for a small left-wing party and is a sensation as she campaigns with her kid in her arms. Kiesinger jokes, "That Klarsfeld kid, if he gets at me, he'll bite me." But it's no joking matter. Beate's campaign and the movement she launches will help defeat him. He is replaced by Willy Brandt, a true resistance fighter against Hitler. Beate has prevailed, but Serge warns her, "You're now like an actress. You've no right to stop any longer. On her own head be it."
Gesetze, das ist demokratisch, Deutschlands Gesetze, ja?
Wenn die Mehrheit des Volkes dafür ist, dann ist es
Die Mehrheit des
Demokratie.
Volkes war für Hitler gewesen und das ist Demokratie.
Jawohl, das waren sie.
Das
Aber
war
warum?
Demokratie.
Je suis allemande, je suis fière d'être allemande, je suis une bonne allemande et une bonne patriote. Et je crois que justement, ce que j'ai avec mes actions, j'essaie de montrer aux Allemands les devoirs qu'ils ont à remplir. Car ça n'a pas d'importance si ces Allemands font partie de l'Allemagne de l'Ouest, de l'Allemagne de l'Est. Ça n'a pas d'importance non plus s'ils font partie d'un parti plus de droite ou de gauche ou du centre. C'est-à-dire ces devoirs sont propres à tous les Allemands. Et c'est le point important, c'est étant donné que nous sommes tous des héritiers de l'Allemagne et qu'il y a des hommes comme Goethe, Schiller, Beethoven, ce qui est merveilleux, mais qu'il y a aussi des hommes comme Hitler, Himmler, Eichmann, eh bien, il faut donc assumer ses responsabilités.
Neither Beate nor Serge will stop. Each trail leads to another. In the Kiesinger file, they have found the name of Ernst Achenbach, head of the political department at the German embassy in Paris during the war, and thus involved in deportations. He is now a member of Congress in Germany, and Berlin wants to have him named to the European Commission. Beate and members of the League Against Racism and Anti-Semitism occupy his chambers as a lawyer. Achenbach will not be sent to Brussels.
Nous voulons construire, Français et Allemands, l'Europe ensemble sur la base de notre entente élémentaire. Et j'ai l'impression que cette, je dirais, manie de la persécution qui se fait jour chez certains, pas chez la majorité des gens, ni chez vous, ni chez nous, n'est pas bonne pour ça. Je crois que, et c'est ma conviction morale, qu'après 30 ans, il y a lieu de faire une amnistie.
Neither amnesty nor prescription, say the Klarsfelds. They are now tracking the deportation bureaucrats in France, the SS chief Hagen and the Gestapo man Lischka. They now have Lischka's address in Köln. An easy one to find. He's in the phone book. The Klarsfelds decide to go to Köln with the cameraman. They are now in his neighborhood. Again, a quiet, easy-living Nazi who journeys every day on the 18 tramway to his job in a farm produce business. How can that be? This is the outcome of the Paris Protocol, signed after the war. Only France can try Germans who have committed crimes in France itself. They cannot be tried in Germany, and Western Germany's constitution forbids extraditing its citizens. Thus, these Nazi criminals are under safe cover in Germany. Lischka has been sentenced in France in his absence to prison for life. Here in Köln, he is out of danger, at least until the day when the Klarsfelds turn up in his life. Lischka was present when Heydrich, head of the Gestapo, came to Paris to meet Bousquet, vile head of Vichy's police, to prepare the infamous Veldiv roundup, when 13,000 men, women, and children were penned in before being exterminated at Auschwitz. The Klarsfelds' aim is to fight that kind of impunity and, through Lischka, to have that protocol changed. Serge Klarsfeld's idea is not to hurt him, but to kidnap him and take him to France to have him jailed. But that would take the Mossad's means. His plan cannot be carried out. Thus, the media must be notified so as to create an untenable situation for German society and force it to face former deportees.
Lischka, murder! Oui, murder, oui. Undot, non, monsieur. L'initiateur de la solution finale en France des Juifs en France. Non, monsieur, ne frappez pas un déporté.
The case is referred to the German courts, and foreign television networks, such as the BBC, come at once.
Fürchten Sie sich überhaupt, Herr Lischka? Nein. Warum halten Sie Ihre Hand so, wenn Sie sich nicht fürchten? Weil ohne mein Willen nicht gefilmt werden darf. Herr Lischka, man sagt, dass Sie viele tausende Juden umgebracht haben. Fühlen Sie sich überhaupt nicht schuldig? Das stimmt. Das stimmt.
Beate and Serge have a mission, and they will carry it out to its end. They also flush out the SS Herbert Hagen on his way to work as a sales manager. A stirring moment as they face the head of the Gestapo's torturers. When Paris was liberated, the interior French forces and a group of insurgent policemen discovered the basements of the Gestapo. Here, their hostages, the army of the shadows, all those resistance men they killed, had left the imprint of their hands on the walls before collapsing under the German machine gun bullets. "Leave me alone," says Hagen. Beate tackles him again. "You are the one who was in France in '42. I was a soldier. I did my duty," says Hagen. "Weren't you in charge of roundups and executions?" asks Serge. "I wish to lead a quiet life," answers Hagen. "How can you lead a quiet life after all the things you've done?" Interrupted by his wife and daughters, Hagen manages to slip away. Interviewed by the BBC, Hagen asks to be filmed in profile, to be less recognizable. he justifies himself too, under pretense of the early Nazi approach.
Ich fühle mich in keiner Weise dafür verantwortlich. Ich bin ausgegangen von meiner alten Überzeugung, die ja auch bestätigt worden ist vor dem Kriege, dass man eintritt für die Bildung eines jüdischen Staates. Ich bin davon ausgegangen, dass alle Maßnahmen eigentlich immer nur dann eben während des Krieges indirekt in dieser Richtung weitergehen konnten.
But the Jewish homeland was Palestine, not Auschwitz in Poland.
Deshalb sagte ich ja auch indirekt, zu diesem Zeitpunkt waren Auswanderungen nach Palästina ja nicht möglich. Ich konnte also nur davon ausgehen, und das ist meine Auffassung gewesen, dass dort die jüdischen Menschen zusammengefasst werden und dann nach einem Kriege doch alle in einer internationalen Regelung so weit wie möglich dann in den jüdischen Staat gebracht zu werden.
French Jews were rounded up in the ghastly Drancy camp near Paris. There, one of the most savage guards was the SS Ernst Heinrichson. 30 years later, Heinrichson is the honorable mayor of Bergstadt, a small town in Bavaria. Questioned too by the BBC, he reveals his total lack of humanity.
Das sind Leute mit 80 Jahren alt, haben sie das geschickt.
Das kann sein, das kann sein.
Wie können Frauen mit 80 Jahren alt arbeiten?
Weiß ich nicht. Aber Sie müssen mir zugestehen, dass ich mir nicht jeden Tag den Kopf darüber zerbrochen habe, was geschieht oder was nicht geschieht.
Warum nicht?
Weil ich keine Aufgabe dazu hatte.
His town people support him, though.
Klarsfeld, der Ankläger gegen unser Bürgermeister, der ist überhaupt nicht in der Lage, diese Sache genau zu wissen. Und warum rüßt er immer rum, macht den Mann seelisch und moralisch fertig? Er ist überhaupt nicht in der Lage, das zu wissen. Nur auf Argumente oder irgendwie nach schriftlicher Unterlage her.
Serge Klarsfeld and his Association of Children of Jewish Deportees of France invade Cologne law courts. This new trial in Germany is a victory after a 10-year relentless fight against the Paris Protocol. Klarsfeld has collected every Nazi document and signed order, all of them irrefutable proof. Lischka, sentenced to 10 years. Hagen, to 12 years. Heinrichson, to only 6 years. Without the Klarsfelds, the three could have ended their lives peaceably. Outside the court is a crowd unable to enter inside, the children of deported people and even their grandchildren.
Je crois que ça doit être quand même un procès exemplaire parce que ce sont un des plus hauts responsables du nazisme en France et ils ont été ce qu'on peut appeler vraiment cruels et immondes.
Je m'appelle Lida Klarsfeld et j'ai 12 ans.
Quel est le métier de tes parents?
Ils recherchent les nazis.
Tracking Nazis down can be dangerous. 2 murder attempts almost killed the Klarsfelds. In 1972, a mail bomb, and in 1979, a bomb set up in their car. The criminals are still around. The Klarsfelds are neither impressed nor deterred by the many snags of militant life. Their mission is an exalting one. Beate has said,
Pour beaucoup de monde, Serge et moi représentions surtout une promesse, celle d'un couple franco-allemand, de surcroît juif et non-juif, qui s'engageait pour une cause, une petite équipe, sans moyens financiers et sans aide, mais qui faisait changer les choses.
Beate, accused by some of being a leftist and a CIA spy by others, is now one of the past century's great figures. A good 10 TV programs have told her saga, even though sometimes in conventional images.
Nous sommes rencontrés au métro Porte de Saint-Cloud, exactement au-dessous des fenêtres de notre appartement où nous vivons maintenant.
But the supreme consecration was a film made in Hollywood in which Beate is played by Farrah Fawcett.
Est-ce que vous êtes anglaise?
Pardon?
Are you English?
Allemande.
The Klarsfelds will never stop. Serge still seeks the man who arrested his father on September 1st, 1943, in Nice, an indelible memory.
Une nuit, la Gestapo est venue. Les parents nous ont tirés du lit, ma sœur Tania et moi, et ils nous ont fait entrer dans une cachette que mon père avait aménagée en ouvrant le mur derrière un placard.
Je vais me rendre, comme ça ils vont peut-être pas chercher plus loin.
Tu comprends, il essayait de nous rassurer, et peut-être qu'il avait un vague espoir de s'en tirer. Mais au fond, il savait très bien que si les Allemands nous trouvaient, ils nous tueraient tous.
Votre nom? Klarsfeld Arnaud. Alors suivez-nous.
Serge finally identifies the man who arrested his father, SS Alois Brunner, a fanatical Nazi who ran the camp at Drancy and sent to death camps almost 200,000 Jews from all over Europe. Brunner has taken refuge in Syria, where he gives profitable advice to some anti-Zionist regimes. Beate and Serge will go as far as Damascus to demand his extradition, sometimes under peculiar disguises. Unsuccessfully, of course.
Je crois qu'ils ont pris la décision de m'expulser pour que je ne les gêne pas, étant donné que ma présence là-bas, à partir du moment où ils ne voulaient pas dialoguer, ne leur apportait rien.
Then Brunner, now under the name of Fischer, will receive a parcel bomb that will make him lose a few fingers.
Moi-même, je n'en suis pas capable, parce que ça risquerait de me sauter entre les mains, mais disons que je ne suis pas tout seul. C'était une initiative, je ne peux pas dire comment, mais en tout cas, bon, c'était une revue d'herboristerie. Il s'intéressait beaucoup à l'herboristerie, et d'Autriche est partie une revue cylindrique, comme toutes les revues, cylindriques, et quand il l'a ouvert, il a perdu les doigts d'une main. Donc il savait que les victimes ne l'avaient pas oublié.
An act of revenge contrary to what had always been advocated by Wiesenthal, who now publishes his memoirs, Justice is Not Vengeance. Wiesenthal keeps amassing his files. The hunt must go on to the last Nazi culprit before he is seized by the Lord's justice. Beate has titled her own book, Wherever They May Be, and she'll follow them to the end of the world. Here she is in Chile. She is not afraid of Pinochet's police. With the passing years, her energy remains intact, and her cause still is Germany's redemption. And there still are surviving Nazis. She must obtain the extradition of this man, lying low in his villa in Santiago.
You know who is this man living here? Who know he is? You know his man?
His name is Walter Rauff, one of the worst Nazi criminals. In 1942, he organized the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of Jews by using the exhaust gases of vehicles. Here is a test of the device. It foreshadows the actual gas chambers. Beate is a hard one to chase away. She has written on her placard, "The Nazi Rauff must be tried for his crimes against the Jews." Extradite the Nazi Rauff, shouts Beate in front of the presidential palace.
Who killed innocent victims in Soviet Union.
More and more aggressive demonstrations. Her appeal to the authorities and media to obtain Rauff's extradition and her impact on public opinion will literally finish off Rauff, who dies of a heart attack on May 14th, 1984. His funeral sees all kinds of men wearing lodens and leather jackets. Those are his comrades in exile, come to pay a final Hitlerian tribute to him. The hunt continues in South America. It will take 10 years for the Klarsfelds to locate Klaus Barbie and have him extradited. Head of the Gestapo at Lyon, Barbie is the Nazi who arrested and tortured to death the man who embodied the French resistance, Jean Moulin, and who mercilessly sent to the gas chambers the children of Isieux, 44 Jewish children and the 7 adults who were hiding them in a summer camp near Lyon. The Barbie trial starts, and it is a historical moment more than 4 decades after the fall of Nazism.
Veuillez vous asseoir, monsieur l'accusé. Asseyez-vous.
C'est Liliane, 10 ans, qui a écrit à Dieu cette lettre déchirante retrouvée à Isieux. Dieu, que vous êtes bon, que vous êtes gentil.
Serge, counsel for the victims, reads the letters of the dead children.
Il ne finirait jamais. Dieu, c'est vous qui commandez, c'est vous qui êtes la justice, c'est vous qui récompensez les bons et punissez les méchants. Dieu, après cela, je pourrais dire que je ne vous oublierai jamais. Je penserai toujours à vous, même au dernier moment de ma vie. Vous pouvez être sûr et certain. Vous êtes pour moi quelque chose que je ne peux pas dire tellement que vous êtes bon. Vous pouvez me croire, Dieu. C'est grâce à vous que j'ai eu une belle vie avant, que j'ai été gâté, que j'ai eu de belles choses que les autres n'ont pas. Dieu, après cela, je ne vous demande qu'une seule chose. Faites revenir mes parents, mes pauvres parents. Ce drame d'Isieux fut un des plus poignants de l'oppression. Un des forfaits les plus odieux du régime qui, pendant 5 ans, a servi et tortura l'Europe. Non pas une de ces atrocités commises dans le déchaînement de la folie guerrière ou le délire du combat, mais un acte de haine et de violence froide, réfléchie, méthodique, érigé en doctrine d'ordre et de gouvernement.
Il n'existe pas de circonstances atténuantes en faveur de l'accusé.
Barbie is sentenced to jail for life for crimes against humanity. He died in jail of a cancer in 1991. Rudolf Hess, the Führer's heir apparent, committed suicide in his cell at Spandau in 1987. The bones of Mengele, Auschwitz's mad physician, who finally drowned in 1979, are still stored in a safe of Brazil's scientific police. With the Papon trial, what becomes imperative is the idea that there never must be impunity for crimes against humanity, and that nobody may give a criminal order or obey it without someday, even much later in time, having to be answerable for it.
Qu'il soit amené 55 ans après devant une cour d'assises pendant 6 mois et condamné à 10 ans, c'est une grande victoire, croyez-moi.
Justice has been done.
Les gens comme Beate et moi, et comme Wiesenthal, nous avons réussi à être efficaces parce qu'on était heureux. Voilà, ça je crois que c'est peut-être le mot de la fin en ce qui concerne ceux qu'on appelle les chasseurs de nazis. Wiesenthal était heureux parce qu'il avait sa femme, sa fille, elles n'ont pas péri pendant la Shoah. Et nous, on a été heureux parce que, bon, j'avais quand même si mon père a péri, j'avais ma mère et puis ensuite Beate, les enfants. Et donc on était heureux. On ne pouvait pas faire ce que nous avons fait en étant malheureux.
Simon Wiesenthal died in 2005. He is buried in Jerusalem. This film is dedicated to him and also to all the victims of Nazism. No one will ever more be able to say, all this did not happen.